Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free right now. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello, and welcome back to Crime and Sports.
We are back. Yay!
Yay, we're back. I am James Petrogallo here with my co-host.
I am Jimmy Wisman.
Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. We're pumped for this week's episode.
Shit, yeah.
This has been this is the craziest thing we've covered, I think, from top to bottom, from beginning to end. But we've had nothing like this, because there is nothing like this. And I started unraveling the story, and I'm like, what? Oh, that's interesting. No, not what? Get the fuck. It kept going and going to where it's like, okay, this is the craziest story ever. And we are fully down a rabbit hole. Before we get to our episode, though, just want to do a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank everybody for iTunes reviews this week.
Holy shit, they came in a flood.
That was great, guys.
We celebrated our 100th.
Yes, thank you so much for that.
We are beyond 100 now, and
we
that's
appreciate
huge. Thank
every
you guys.
one of them. That's the best thing you can do for us,
right.
And we appreciate all you guys doing that so much. New listeners that are on board for the first time, thanks for joining us. You have picked a doozy to introduce yourself to. It's awesome, and we're going to have a blast with it. I want to do a couple of things about last week, the Mike Danton episode.
Yes.
Now, first of all, a listener sent in, was it Brandy Armin or was it Marius?
It was Marius Zon Johnson.
Okay, sent us an email, a great listener.
So good.
About
you guys strap in. This is going to get amazing.
Okay. His website is MikeDanton22.com.
Right.
Is all 22. His
jersey was number 22.
Number is 22 and a lot of his where he plays. And that was the room number at the Bayview Motel.
How
was room 22.
fucking crazy is that?
Did they insist on that room, or is that what he's taking his number off of?
Either way, if he wants to say that he was that, if his defense is that he was killing his child predator and horrible things happened at the Bayview Hotel in room 22, why the fuck would you pick that number
that's
to follow
his number.
You around the rest of your life?
That is his number. It's on
amazing things happened for him in room 22.
MikeDanton22.com. Let's just say that. Also, too, Katie of Katie is going to jail fame. Katie, we didn't have time to get into it, but Katie actually had her own trial and was acquitted, and it was a big thing, and it would have taken me another 20 minutes, and we try to keep these under 2 hours.
Lucky girl.
So we couldn't get into Katie's trial.
She got off.
Danton and Frost were enough.
Yeah.
But never mind Danton and Frost, because holy hell do we have a doozy for you tonight. This is a man we've never covered before, in so many different ways. It's the weirdest, crazy. This is a guy who had to do what he did the least. The least.
Really?
He didn't even have to do sports, this guy.
Really?
That's the thing. We're very little sports this week. All crime. Wall-to-wall crime. We don't have time for much sports this week.
So he had his life all together.
Before he ever had an inkling of sport to him. He had his life, or crime for that matter. He had his life together like very, very, very few of us in this world do. Let's get into this fella here. It's a guy by the name of Hans Johann Paul. That is his birth name.
Okay.
That is not what he's known as.
Okay.
This is John Paul Sr.
John Paul changed his name.
He changed his name. He's from the Netherlands.
Okay.
So he's born Hans Johann Paul in the Netherlands, December 3rd, 1939.
2 in a row that changed their names.
2 in a row to change their name. Totally different reasons here. This is not to get a run away from a family or anything like that. This is, and he keeps his last name at least. This is just to acclimate, and we'll get to why.
John Paul, what's the last name?
John Paul Sr. This is John. His original last name is Paul also. It's Hans Johann Paul.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, it's the same thing, basically.
Right.
But it's funny what he changes his name to in the era he does it. That's what's amusing. He talks about later on how bad Holland was growing up for him. Because he's born in 1939.
Yeah.
So he grew up during World War II. Not a good time for Holland.
Right.
See Diary of Anne Frank. Not a good time for Holland, basically.
This is prior to weed being legal there.
Yeah, this is not red light district, blowjobs on every corner.
Tourism booming for the red light district and weed cafes.
No. This is scrounging off, picking food scraps off the ground.
Stealing from an apple cart.
That an American soldier left behind as they, barreled through in their tank.
Awesome.
Basically said the war had completely destroyed the country.
I can imagine.
Obviously. They had very little food. He would talk about picking up U.S. soldiers' cigarette butts off the ground.
Ew.
Because they were American cigarettes, and that was a big deal. And we have a...
That's disgusting.
Yeah, he would to get food. He would collect the cigarettes that the GIs threw away because they throw away like half cigarettes, as we're going to hear from him in a second. And then he would take them to the bootleggers, who would steal all the supplies and all the food, and he would trade them half American cigarette.
He'd trade a reburn.
He'd trade a handful of butts for a scrap of bread or something.
Gross.
So this is this guy's childhood. He had it rough. Let's do
trading cigarette butts that are flicked from soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
That go from port to port, banging whore after whore after whore.
40s VD like nobody's business. Just whatever they had back then.
I'll give you a VD-filled cigarette.
Big band VD.
For a day-old loaf of bread.
And it burned. This is no good. Here's an in their own words on the cigarette thing here and the whole deal. In their own words, quote, "If you don't smoke, you wouldn't know what I mean. But heck, those GIs didn't think anything about a half-finished cigarette. People in this country in those days did." So he's saying shit was rough, man.
Yeah.
They didn't realize it, but for us it was.
When you're addicted to nicotine, anything will do.
Yeah, we have one more. I'm going to do another back-to-back in their own words here.
Terrific.
It explains a lot about his childhood and kind of maybe how he is later on.
Right.
A little hardened type of guy. In their own words on his childhood, quote, "It was very tough then, especially in the early years. The country had been stripped by the Nazis. Even toward the end, around 1945, it was still difficult. They'd airlift food and cigarettes and supplies, but most of all, it was snapped up and went on the black market."
Wow.
Shit's rugged over there, man. This is
Relief Aid rice is going on the black market.
It's going on the black market, and he's trading cigarettes for it. And I like how he said they'd airlift in food and cigarettes and supplies. He's very concerned with cigarettes.
Those cigarettes are a big deal.
If you don't smoke, you wouldn't understand, but God damn it, these cigarettes.
The 40s were smoking. There was smoke everywhere.
I can picture him. He's 7 years old. He's got a fedora on, smoking a cigarette, sport coat. I'm telling you. He grows up in Holland, and finally in 1956, he wasn't even 17 yet when they actually came here. He moves to the U.S. His dad was a doctor in Holland, and before the war, I guess, and all that, and then things kind of fell apart. And so he came over here to further his education because I think the education.
Good call.
Yeah, the college systems weren't doing too well after they were destroyed,
blown
and
apart,
blown up,
right?
And that sort of
essentially
thing.
Aleppo of the 40s.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So. He moves over here. This is great. It's 1956. He comes over as a teenager in the mid-50s, which is, a crazy time, American graffiti time.
The 57 Chevy's about to hit the market and change the world.
And he's going, holy shit, I'm from a place where you pick up cigarette butts to get food scraps. And these guys have, tail fins. This is awesome.
And cigarettes rolled in their sleeves.
Rolled in their sleeves. You go up and a pretty girl on roller skates brings you a hamburger. What kind of country is this? A pretty girl. You don't
a hamburger and a malt? Are you shitting me?
You don't have to pick anything up off the ground to barter with her for. You just give them some paper and they give you. It's insane over here. He changes his name from Hans Johann Paul, which isn't real cool for an American 50s kid.
Kind of a nerdy name now.
Yeah, no girl's like, I'm going to go study with Hans Johann. It wasn't happening then. Changes his name to John Lee Paul.
Oh.
Because I feel like he thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Like Jerry Lee Lewis. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to be John Lee Paul. Yeah.
He sees Lee on the back of some dude's jeans and he's like, that's a kick-ass name.
He's like, fuck it. I could be any name I want over there.
Lee it is.
But he's still got an accent. He's still got a funny-ass Dutch. Sorry to the Dutch, but your fucking accent when you speak English is hilarious. It's the best accent of anyone speaking English. It's the funniest by far. Beats the shawarma man.
I wish I
beats
did
everybody. I'm not going to fucking even attempt the Dutch. I'll give you some shawarma man later.
All right.
We're not going to do Dutch for now. But yeah, he's probably grew up pompadour.
Yeah.
Everything. He's like, I'm fucking John Lee Paul, buddy. He's playing the piano. He's learning.
Lighting shit on fire.
Oh, loving it, man. So he starts in the late 50s in America working as a dishwasher. 60 cents an hour he's making back then.
That's better than cigarette butts.
It's better than cigarette butts, but still not terrific. Also would do like janitorial work, any menial job he could find to scrape together. as much money as he
He's
could.
an immigrant.
And he has a plan.
Uh-huh.
He has a plan to be a legitimate success, and this shit is impressive.
All right.
He came from war-torn shithole, and any place that was like occupied for. My grandmother's from Italy, and she lived in Italy. She came into America in 1947, so she lived through the whole Nazi occupation in Italy. So anybody that lives through that shit, I know they're a different kind of rugged.
Yeah.
They're just a different kind. They're a little.
They're survivors.
They're survivors. They're a little harsher than most. Also,
Oh, I can imagine.
They're tough.
They got some predisposed ideas and. Is that it?
They
Predisposed?
lived under a Nazi regime.
Yeah.
So they've had, they're a little scarred, some of these people. So my grandmother.
They judge is the word.
Yeah, she's great, but she's crazy as fuck. So, and we're going to get into him. He's crazy as fuck, not so great.
Mm-hmm.
But in 1960, he marries a woman named Joyce, an American girl, apparently. Apparently she's a kind of a dull, cold woman. Not that exciting, but he's like, hey, I'm here. I got a wife.
That's vagina.
Mm-hmm. They moved to Muncie, Indiana.
Oh.
You can't get... He's John Lee Paul. He changes his name to, marries some boring broad named Joyce and moves to Indiana. He's a fucking American, this guy. Hands down. He is a goddamn American.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Now, at this point, forget about it. His son, John Lee Paul Jr., a junior, watch out for him.
You betcha.
He's going to race some cars, too, and he's going to be a junior athlete. You think he'll have some legal problems?
Fucking A, he will.
He will. He's going to have a couple. I'll just give you some, I'll give that to you right now.
Foreshadowing.
He's going to have some problems. But unfortunately for him, they're all based on his father, because his father's the asshole.
That makes sense.
The senior's the asshole here. He's born February 19th, 1960. So they have a son. I don't know if he knocked her up and got married, but that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I don't think
that's fast.
That's a pretty fast gestation period. I'm going to say it was the 60s. They were like, she's getting big. You better marry her, I think, at that point. Now, he's somehow, back then, you could go to college for very little money, especially at a state university if you were a resident of a state.
Student loans weren't a necessity.
No, you could go for very little money. He attends Ball State University.
Oh, no shit.
In Muncie. Goes to college. He graduates. He does so well. Jimmy, this is a first of any of our people. We've had smart guys on this, but nobody that actually applied it to this level.
Right.
He does so well that he earns himself a scholarship.
What?
To get a master's degree.
What?
Where do you think he earns it from, Jimmy? You think it's, Indiana State or something? No. Fucking Harvard.
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 The man got into an Ivy League school.
And I don't care where
after crossing an ocean
Yeah.
from war-torn Holland, comes to America, settles down, starts raising a family, goes to college, and gets a scholarship to go get a master's
Harvard.
degree at Harvard.
It's amazing. He's a fucking genius, this guy. He's a serious...
There's no reason to fuck up.
He is a straight-up genius, this man.
Unbelievable.
Like a business, a financial, a
I wish
mathematical...
I had that kind of brain.
He's a wizard, this guy. And obviously, he's some immigrant janitor, a dishwasher who's getting into Harvard now. It's incredible, though.
Hilarious.
He does it. He pulls it off. He earns a master's in business.
Wow.
From Harvard.
From Harvard.
From Harvard.
He's got that
So,
shit hanging on his wall.
At that point, he walks out. He can do anything he wants.
Yeah.
He's got a master's from Harvard back then, especially.
Apply for CEO right now.
You are the shit. So after graduating, he gets a job with a company called Putnam Management. And this is in Boston, which Harvard was there, so that makes sense. They're a mutual fund management firm. So this is kind of the beginnings of the mutual fund.
Mutual
from what I
funds in the
understand.
60s.
Yeah, I did some research, and I'm researching mutual funds.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, was that boring? But I don't have to bore you guys with it.
As boring as his wife.
Let's just say that was kind of the beginning of mutual funds being big, and you don't have to know anymore.
He likes boring shit.
He likes boring. He likes to make money. He's you know what he is? He's studious. He buckles down.
Yep.
He does his shit. That's the thing. I got to go to Ball State. I got to be married to this fucking boring broad named Joyce and bang her missionary style once a week. Fine. I'll do it. I'll get my diploma and I'll move on. I think that's what he is. He's see goal, get goal. That's what he's all about. And he continues that through his life. He's a genius, basically. Within a year, he is co-manager of their main fund. He escalates to that. He's that smart. Within 6 years, he takes this is in the late 60s, he takes this fund from a $600 million fund to a $4 billion fund under his supervision.
In the 60s.
In the late 60s. So that's big money in the 60s.
That's boatloads of cash.
That's insanity. I mean, we're talking, this is a major thing that people would, it's like a 401k and everything else. It's hard to explain.
It's like the gross domestic product
it's ridiculous.
of Holland.
That's pretty much, yes. He was smart because he invested in up-and-coming companies and was smart about it. He invested in Mattel before they were shit. The toy company that made fucking He-Man,
everything
and everything else
yeah.
under the sun in the 80s.
Yeah.
Probably, I think they made the Star Wars figures too.
I believe they make Hot Wheels.
Yeah, they do. They make Hot Wheels. So yeah, it's
that's a big deal.
They're a big toy company, and he got on board when they were relatively new. Also, Kentucky Fried Chicken, which was not a big company back in the 60s.
Yeah.
It was regional, and they were trying to go national. And
him and John Wayne Gacy got in it.
Exactly. Well,
ground floor.
Different levels.
Yeah.
he got in a money level. Yeah, Gacy was actually slinging the
Gacy's actually
chicken.
Frying the goddamn chicken and putting those 13 original herbs and spices together.
I don't think Johann was doing that shit ever. He was just... but anyway, he made himself a millionaire before the age of 30. So think about that, guys. That coming from nowhere, like you said, and he comes to this country and completely legitimately through hard work and brains and just heart, he gets himself to this level.
Just actual desire.
Desire and the ability to...
And he's now a millionaire.
And he's a millionaire.
Good old Joyce sticking it out.
Got a nice family. He's got a boring wife and a nice kid. Everything's going well for him.
And a bunch of money.
Bunch of money. On making money, he says, in their own words, old John Paul Sr., quote, "I was one of the first to get involved with mutual funds. Within just a few years, I made a lot of my clients very wealthy. I guess I did pretty well for myself, too."
I would say so.
And he laughed. So
he laughed.
Yeah, what do you think? He was probably sitting on a fucking yacht at the time.
Sitting on a fucking concrete bed.
Now, he was always kind of a fan afar, always looked afar at racing, Grand Prix racing, that sort of thing, the European-style racing.
Open wheel racing.
Yeah, he was always into that sort of thing, and just kind of liked it. So during the 60s, while he was in his high-pressure job, and he was also, on Wall Street investing, doing a lot of shit, he buys a 64 Corvette to have some fun with.
May as well.
Blow off some
Live a little
steam.
bit reckless here and there.
Apparently, he would go out in the parking lot of the building there and just tear ass around at night when I was there and just practice drifting and shit. And literally, he was doing crazy shit with a Corvette. Yeah, people were like, "Wow, he's insane. He's a crazy person." But he had a plan again, because in 1970 he buys a Dodge Challenger from a guy named Sam Posey.
70 Challenger's a badass
It's
car.
a badass car.
Shit,
It's not a 70 Challenger.
Okay.
It's a Challenger
It's like a
that
68 or
had
69.
been racing for a couple of years. And it's modified for racing.
Yeah.
And it's from a racer named Sam Posey. He was a racer back then and was a TV analyst for ABC in the U.S. here in the States.
I thought the name sounded familiar.
For a long time.
Yeah.
So he's a redneck.
I paid attention to that horse shit in the late 80s, early 90s. My parents would take me to all the... I know who Don Prudhomme is, for fuck's sake.
Okay, so
nobody
you're
knows
gonna
who
know
that
a few of
I know
these
who
guys.
John Force is. Nobody knows who that is.
Sam Posey. Here he is. So John starts racing using this car. He wins races in 1970. He wins at Bridgehampton and Lime Rock using this car. So it was a great car, too, from what I understand. But, he's a rookie racer. And he's just good at everything.
Is he running pro street, or is he running like circle track?
It's like circle track, because this is it looks like a car. It looks like a stock car.
Okay.
It's not like a...
So it's like a
open
NASCAR
wheel.
car.
Yeah, they're just doing whatever. So on racing here, we have another in their own words. He doesn't speak a ton, but he speaks in bursts about certain things.
Yeah.
So here we go here. In their own words, this is on the whole racing thing. Quote, "Growing up in Europe, you always heard about the Grand Prix drivers.
Yeah.
Like a kid in this country hears about baseball players. I'd always been interested in racing."
Jesus.
So this has been his,
This is his passion. His underlying... I'll fuck this boring bitch just to get to the racing.
I made millions. I'll do a race. Now he's racing. He's starting to feel it a little bit.
Got a little bite.
He's feeling the Lee in his name a little bit right now. He's dancing on the piano. He's fucking his 14-year-old cousin. Not literally with the cousin. I don't know, maybe the piano. But he's feeling the Lee a little too much right now.
Did he take Lee from the General Lee?
I don't know. I honestly think he came over, heard Great Balls of Fire, and said Jerry Lee Lewis, John Lee Paul.
That's it.
That's cool. That'll get me chicks. I really think that's what he did.
That's hillbilly. Let's
swear
run
to
with
God.
it.
If I ever... Well, never mind. We'll get to him in a minute.
Yeah.
At the end of this, I'm going
right.
to say what I'd like to say to him if we ever find him, and this is what it is. But he divorces his wife.
Good for him.
Divorces old boring
She's
Joyce
too
in 71.
boring, yeah.
Had no more interest. John Jr. stays with the mother for now.
I feel like he got his first blowjob at the track and was like, I'm not staying with this bitch.
Yeah, I feel like he ran won 2 races, had a couple of, pudgy, drunken redneck race groupies in the 70s. I can't imagine it was high
Grabbed
quality.
a couple by the pussy.
Now you probably, like Donald Trump. Now you probably get quality at the racetrack, I would imagine. There's not quality too, but there's probably quality
At
also.
NASCAR, there's some quality.
1970 at Lime Rock, I can't imagine the quality was so great. But still, it was there.
Yeah.
They were into it, so good for him. He starts to unravel a little bit too. Like he gets he starts pulling out of Wall Street because the market changes and it just turns into kind of a shitty market at this point in the late 60s, early 70s. So he kind of pulls out of that. He's just starting to act funny, divorces his wife, just starting to kind of have a midlife crisis here a little early, basically. He's a difficult guy to deal with also. Opinionated, strong-willed, pain in the ass. Everybody was afraid of him. Everybody was like fucking... He was just not a guy you'd want to deal with if you had to deal with someone.
Yeah, a guy like that's so self-centered and done everything on his own. He needs nobody to live his life.
No.
So everybody's disposable to him. So he's not going to have any relationships that are going to last, that are going to matter, unless there's a benefit for him in it.
He's so single-minded with what he's doing that he'll just plow anything over to get his son. We'll talk about it. 1972 now. He quits his job, quits everything he's doing, sells everything he owns, including his race cars. Everything, quits the job on Wall Street, mutual fund, all this shit. He buys a sailboat.
What?
Gets a goddamn sailboat.
Who the fuck does he think he is?
Lost his mind.
Yeah.
Okay, lost his goddamn mind. We'll find out where he went in a minute here, but he takes off. He doesn't come back till 1974 when he returns.
Where's his kid?
With the mother. He just took off. He doesn't care. It's fun. Hey, he grew up with picking cigarette butts off the ground. This kid will be fine. He's got a house. Right. That's the way he's looking at it. Like, the Nazis aren't bombing him. Right. Who cares? Fuck this kid. I think that's how he's looking at it. You know, he's not hiding in a fucking attic. It's fine. We're all good.
He'll do okay.
He'll do fine. So he comes home and starts to try to build a racing team. Now, I mean...
Like a track racing team or a sailboat racing team?
A car racing team again here. John Jr. comes and lives with him, I think because the mother was so boring. Yeah. She's just like, this Joyce lady's boring me, Dad. I can't take it anymore with her.
He calls her Joyce.
This Joyce, man. Mom
That's your mother.
Excited.
Call her that. No,
Joyce is exactly perfect for her. So we find out later on where he was for 2 years, and
oh my God,
he sounds like it was just the best time ever. I'm sure the kid didn't think that or anything, but he says in their own words, quote, "I bought this sailboat and set to sea alone. I sailed to Europe twice. I saw the old country for the first time since I left, and it made me glad to be an American. I finally settled in the Caribbean and then moved to Cape Canaveral, Florida, and got into real estate."
My goodness.
So, he just said, I'm going to go have an adventure now. I mean, just...
Wouldn't that be great?
Not really.
Alone would suck.
I can't take that. I'd lose my fucking mind. I need my...
Sailing, though, would suck dick. That'd be horrible.
Suck. But the freedom of doing it, if that's what you're into, whatever your version of sailing is...
Sailing, though. You're not moving that fast.
No, just going. To Europe. Europe.
Why?
That's like what people used to have to do, and they didn't like it.
Right.
You know, they were wishing there was a better way to do it. And
when you go to Europe, you're coming back from somewhere.
This is the 70s. Right. He could have got on a fucking jet.
Right.
Flown over there, had a nice meal, been able to smoke right there on the plane. It would have been fine.
But settling in the Caribbean, too, would be that'd be balls out. That's it.
Yeah. So at night now, he's going to start funding a race team now. And they're like, you sold everything, got a sailboat. Where's this money coming from? John Jr. makes a discovery in about 1975 that he says he went in the garage to feed the dog, that's where the dog food was, and found just tons of weed.
That's why he went to the Caribbean.
Bales and bales and bales and bales of weed. And he was like, oh, this is what's going on.
That's what Dad's doing.
Absolutely. So he had been bringing weed back and forth, just back, not really forth, from the Caribbean into the States, into Louisiana and Florida.
Yep.
And funding what he needed to do.
That's what Dad's doing now.
So
real estate, my ass.
That's the thing. And I got into real estate. You know.
Maybe he bought real estate on the beach so that he could just sail his boat right up to that. It's real estate.
If you put a bale of weed on the ground and stand on it, it's sort of real estate. Yeah. So I call that real estate.
You kind of own that.
It's ridiculous. That's your land now.
Yeah.
It's real estate. You pick it up, you take it with you. It's always yours. Wherever you want to be. Weed, the new land. It's fucking unreal, man. So in 1975, he's 15, 16 years old here in 75, 76. John Sr. asks John Jr. if he would help him out with the operation.
Oh, no.
This is where it's like, hey, asshole, that's your
dad.
kid.
Yeah.
Protect your kid.
Right.
This is worse than Frost at this point. At least Frost wasn't making them commit other crimes. Right. For fuck's sake. So John Jr., they asked him here, what's the deal with that later on? How the hell, what happened? And John Jr. says, quote, he asked me if I would help him unload about a year after I found the initial stashed there. Did I resent that? I love my father. He's my dad. I think he's a very intelligent man and could have done it another way. I resent that. In other words, he's like, he made millions of dollars. He knows how to make millions of dollars. He didn't have to have his kid help him smuggle weed. We're not fucking immigrants.
Lots of weed.
Lots of weed. This is not like when we did Ben Kramer. This is a lot of similarities to the Ben Kramer, Randy Lanier story here that we did, like episode 26.
Right.
So, Murder at the Speed of Smuggling is the name of that one. So it's very much like that, but those guys were like Florida, like rural Florida white trash.
Right.
They weren't really like...
This is an immigrant that made it big.
They weren't
it's a
Harvard,
Wall Street man.
They weren't Harvard-educated millionaires. And everyone, I don't care where you are in the world listening to this, you've heard of Harvard.
Yeah.
All the new guys in Sweden, by the way, thank you, Sweden. Welcome aboard.
Huge numbers there. Thank you, guys.
The whole country found this
believe
week.
it.
You guys have heard of Harvard, I
Yeah.
bet. You have. You're like, oh, yes, the Harvard. I know that's not how you talk at all. But
Oh, the Harvard.
the Harvard. Where's the Swedish chef? I'm trying to think of. There's a lot of Borgs in this.
Right.
I don't know what the fuck you guys do over there. But we love you to death for listening to us. Anyway, he goes on here. He didn't have to, obviously, import the weed. So the kid's pissed off about that. Don't blame him, because we'll hear what happens
At
to him
16 years old, he's asking him to unload.
He's got no choice.
Yeah, but at 16, he's already made a criminal out of the kid.
No, not senior. Junior has no choice. If you're 16 and you live with your dad, and your dad's, especially if your dad's like this immigrant who went to Harvard and was a millionaire, he's like a fucking god, and he tells you, you're going to help me unload weed, you'd be like, I guess I'm going to help him unload weed.
That's what I do now.
You'd have no choice in the matter. You're not old enough to render... If that's one of your friends, maybe you could be like, I don't think so. But if it's your dad, you're like, I guess it's okay.
That's
My dad
a family
told me
business.
he told me to. Shit. I mean, so anyway, he starts the race company here, John Paul Sr., called JPL Racing Inc. This is in Lawrenceville, Georgia. That company starts. They moved to Lawrenceville, Georgia a couple of years later, but that's where the company starts.
Okay.
Everyone's scared of John Sr.
Yeah.
Everyone is petrified of him, and not just his kid, and not just people who work for him. Everyone that works for him is terrified. They all work overtime. They don't complain. They do whatever he asks. He runs the shit with an iron fist. He yells at his kid as much as he yells at anybody. His kid has to answer yes, sir, and all that shit.
Oh no.
No, okay, Dad. None of that shit. You're in the shop. It's whatever. And John Paul Jr. is he's learning about engines. He's being their gopher. He's just a general shop bitch at this point, just running around doing anything he can. He's just the gopher and anything, trying to learn the business because he's very into racing. Yeah. What the hell? That's the family business. That and weed. Yeah. He was more into racing than weed, luckily for him. Everyone's scared. He's abusive to all these people. John Jr. says about him, quote, my father can be very intimidating. And he's so intimidating, we'll hear, that basically everyone was terrified of him. There's a race official. These are the people who run the race and whatever in Lawrenceville, Georgia, that talked about an incident when John Sr. walked into their racing office for the officials of the Lawrenceville racing, whatever, and hurled a full briefcase across the room. So didn't look where he was going, just flung it across the room, said it, quote, if it had hit his secretary, it would have taken their head off.
Jesus.
Then the next quote about him.
Reckless as fuck.
What he said about him is great, because he said he dealt with him for years, and cut to the chase, he says, and I quote, he's the most terrifying man I have ever met. So that explains a lot. If some race official says he's the most terrifying man I've ever met, that says a lot. He's a grown man.
Right. That's a grown man that's governing the body that the man operates under.
And all these racers are lunatics back then. They're all maniacs and outlaws and drug smugglers.
This guy's willing to kill you like Odd Job.
Oh, he'll just walk in. He just has he's a lunatic. He's crazy. He was known on the circuit, and this is not a nickname that's given to him in kindness, as, quote, the old pirate.
Oh, shit.
Because he's on the boat, and he's a crazy person. And later on, that nickname is going to come to fruition in such a shitty way. Such a shitty way. But, guys, he is the pirate. Well, trust me. You think this is just a guy who's smuggling some weed, and that's going to be what's wrong with him, right? Just a little drug smuggling?
That's not worthy of a crime and sports episode.
Even goddamn close. That is just, and
it's going to get into something so deep.
If you were going to the Grand Canyon, you'd take this. It's not just a steep incline. You don't shoot right down it. It's a long.
There's a couple of.
It's the road. It looks like it's flat as you're going down. That's what we're doing now. We're walking in it, and we're like, oh, this isn't that bad. And we're about to go, holy shit, we are way down there.
You're starting to feel it starting to feel the burn on the front of your thigh.
Yeah, this is going to happen here. 1978, John Jr. graduates from high school, really dives headfirst into the racing team and starts doing everything, wants to learn about driving also. The father buys him an old Formula Ford to fuck around with and drive and things like that, and sends him to Skip Barber Racing School to learn how to drive.
All right. That sounds like they know what they're doing.
That's the real racing school that you would send your kid to if you were a lunatic that wanted to teach your kid to be a fucking race car driver. He earns a rating from the teacher of, quote, hopeless as he goes there, which is not
perfect
fitting. And actually, he turns into a hell of a driver. So that that school might
that teacher didn't know
more.
Shit.
That teacher didn't know jack shit. At the time, he had no experience because his dad wouldn't let him drive. He just gave him an old car and said, "Go drive that around a parking lot like I did." Asshole.
Yeah.
1978. John Paul Sr., our main guy here, he wins the FIA World Endurance Drivers Championship. He's big on these endurance races.
Really?
These 24-hour races, the 24 hours of Le Mans, the 24 hours of Daytona. These races he's big in, and he wins his first in 78. And so, I mean...
How long was it, did it say?
I think this is a 24-hour race.
Okay.
Another 24-hour. And it's him and two other people or whatever. But it's his car, it's his deal, and he's
and
one of the
won.
drivers. And he's one of the drivers, too. So he's all about this shit. He's a bad man. And this gets him some notoriety, too. Now they're taking notice of him in the racing world as well as,
Endurance races are crazy because
they are.
It's just, it beats you to death. You're try driving to just pick a state and go there.
Yeah.
And then try just doing it straight.
And the 24-hour races, too, they talk about it, and they're like, you're up for 24 hours. That's a long time to be up, to be, like, alert and driving.
Right.
And they were asking Junior later on, do you sleep during that? And he goes, well, I mean, you can technically, but you can't sleep because you're so concerned with what's going on in the race.
Right.
You can't get out of a race car and have that much adrenaline going. You're just driving 200 miles an hour.
Right.
And you're going to go take a nap for a while and not worry about what position you're in or what happened, or if you wake up, your car could have crashed and the race could be over and you missed the whole thing.
You're going to set an alarm clock?
Yeah, he said so you try, but you can't sleep at all, and you're just up the whole time. It's just all adrenaline, which I would imagine. But after
that's
a
all
while,
the race is. It's
after a while, I don't know how, even 200 miles an hour would be boring after like hour 18. You'd be like, I'm just going to jerk it into the wall. I can't take it anymore. So at least fire's exciting at this point. I don't care anymore. So January 10th, 1979. Everything's going well up to now. He won his race here. The senior's winning the endurance championship. Junior's starting to get into it. He's hopeless, but he's trying.
Right.
We have an interesting night. Louisiana. We're in Louisiana on the banks, in the
marsh.
The bayou, in the marsh. Paul Jr. and a man named Christopher Schill, who I believe is one of Paul Jr.'s friends, I think, are stopped by customs agents as they're loading equipment onto a pickup truck in the dark on the bank of a canal.
Why would you be doing that?
So that's suspicious behavior, especially for just some 19-year-old kids hanging out. They're like, what are you doing? During questioning, the customs agents smelled weed on the boys, obviously, because
they dealing weed.
Because they're dealing weed.
Right.
They find Paul Sr. on his boat nearby. He's on a 42-foot boat called the Lady Royale.
Wow.
On the boat, they find remnants of weed and $10,000 in cash. So they're like, where's the weed? They look around. Luckily for them, nearby, there's a rented truck nearby that has 1,565 pounds of weed in it.
Oh, my God.
That is 710 kilograms for our European friends.
Wow.
Yeah, that's no shit right there. That's a lot of weed they find.
And they got caught with it.
They got caught with, they found, you're here with the equipment, here's the boat, the truck's right there.
You all smell like it, there it is.
It doesn't take a genius to put this operation
together.
together.
Take a Harvard-educated person to figure that out.
Absolutely not. But none of them have had any records. This guy's a famous racer. He's got a Harvard diploma. He's got a lot of money. They're like, what are you doing, idiot?
Right.
Little slap on the wrist. That's it. All three of them, later on in the year, they plead guilty to marijuana possession, so they don't even get them with an intent.
Jesus!
They were bringing in 1,500 pounds of weed in a fucking U-Haul truck just to smoke, I guess, to have a party.
People exaggerate when
That's a lot of weed.
When they say a ton of something. This was nearly a ton of weed.
This is 3/4 of a ton of weed. Yeah, this is the size of a pickup truck in the 80s. It's that weight. That's what we're talking about. 3/4 ton.
Unbelievable.
Tiny, it's ridiculous. I know that's what it carries, but still. Anyway, it's ridiculous how much weed this is, but they give him that. Insane. No problem. And John Jr. says of all this later on, he says that basically all he did the whole time. It was his job. They'd get to the shore. He didn't do the boat shit. He said they'd get to the shore, they'd unload to a truck, and he would take it from the shore in a truck to somewhere safe and drop it off. That's all he ever did. That was his job.
He just drove.
They just needed a guy who was trustworthy enough to drive from here to here and not steal shit.
And your son is the one to do it.
Your son's the one to do it. And I guess after this, he says, and everybody says, I don't know how true it is, but I'm pretty sure it's true. He says this was it for him. He never fucking went near it again. Told his father he's not doing anything like this again. He wants to be. He's a good. He wants to be a race car driver.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be a drug dealer. He doesn't want to be a
straight
drug trafficker. Unfortunately, though, to have a race team, someone's got to traffic something. Basically,
somebody's got to make some money around here.
Exactly. His father keeps going with what he's doing and gets into worse. But so all three of them received 3 years probation and $32,500 fines. So I mean, slap on the wrist.
You can afford it.
He can afford the fine. That's not a big deal. Who cares? You know what I mean? Everything's fine. 1980, he's right back out on the track. He wins the FIA Endurance Drivers Championship again.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's his race.
He's running enduros.
He's running the Endurance. Now, May 26th. Okay. This is interesting.
I love
Let's
those.
get into this here. Okay. May 26th, 1980. He gets married. At the racetrack, and we'll get into how he found this girl here.
So trashy.
Gets married at the Lime Rock Park infield, in the infield of the racetrack. Track at the Coca-Cola 400 race. That is the white trashiest way you could fucking possibly get married ever.
They threw
we gonna get married on the infield at the Coca-Cola 400. That's
on
right.
the logo.
You right there on the center, buddy. You ain't gonna believe it.
I'm gonna kiss you right on the Coca-Cola logo.
I'll tell you, boy.
They threw rubber flakes at him off the tires.
What a fucking mess. The girl he marries
was so trashy. She's covered in soot.
She was originally white trash, this broad, and she got herself out of white trashdom. She grew up in white trashdom. Got out of white trashdom.
She's got two names, doesn't she?
No. Became a stewardess in 1965 for Delta Airlines, which actually in the 60s, if you were a stewardess, that wasn't like now where you're just like a 50-year-old lady that feeds you peanuts. I know they do more and they have to do all the safety stuff. I get that. But it wasn't just like a grumpy woman who's doing all the TSA checkpoints. It's not that. This was like you had to be like attractive and perky and
beautiful,
and a good customer service, and it was ridiculous.
Those Pan Am girls are a good definition.
That's what I mean.
Of what they
it was silly what they would make. You had to be like some sort of model to be. It was so stupid.
Right.
But anyway, she was one of these people. She was a flight attendant from 65 to 80.
Wow.
She's still a flight attendant at this point when she meets him. They meet when her husband, Donald, who she'd been married to since the late 60s, was a race fan, took her to the racetrack and introduced old Charlize to John Paul Sr.
To her new husband.
He says, I'll take you for a ride in the car around the track. And she said she fell in love right there.
Finger you all the way around. Grab you right by the pussy.
The fact that he could keep it on the road and wasn't crashing and could do all this cool stuff. He was a man, and she was into it.
What did Donald do? Do we know?
Donald went home and did nothing because basically
Donald went home and left her to her new husband.
He kept on her after this meeting. He kept trying to get at her and romancing her, and eventually she leaves her husband for him, and they get married like within 2 months of this. They get married on the infield.
That is so
she's like,
trashy.
fuck it, I don't care. John Jr. was his best man at the wedding. So that's nice here. This girl too, Charlize Barnett, Charlize Paul.
She's like, wait, y'all don't brush y'all's teeth?
No, we'll
I
call
love
her Charlize.
this. This sounds great.
This is great. I could live like this.
Y'all don't brush your teeth? In the morning even?
Now, she claimed they were traveling around and then they had to go to France shortly after they get married. This was like their honeymoon, even though he was going over to race. It was a work trip. It was still, they're in France together alone. She says the first night over there, he goes out and just disappears. And she talks to one of his buddies.
He just got married and he's like, listen.
It's their honeymoon, basically. And he's like, I got shit to do.
Here's some strawberries and some champagne and a warm bath. See you around.
He goes out and hangs out with another chick. What? He goes out and hangs out with another chick, and she knew it was another woman. She's like, what's going on? Talked to one of his buddies there, the race buddies, and this guy tells on him, gives it up right away. Says,
what a dickhole.
He's with this one chick. She's a race groupie, and she sells some coke on the side, too. So, small-time cocaine dealing race groupie. Sounds like a fun night for old John Paul Sr.
Whoever that buddy is that ratted him out is a dickhole.
Well, yeah, but this poor woman. Good God.
John John Paul's no fucking cupcake, but that's a dick thing to do to your friend.
Ladies out there, if you go to France with your husband and it's basically your honeymoon, and he spends the first night with a groupie cocaine dealer snorting coke off her ass, I'm going to give you advice right now, and take it. If this has just happened to you in the last 48 hours or so, leave now.
It's
because
over.
Shit is going to go bad. And let's find out what happens to Shalice to know exactly how bad.
How funny is that, though, that his buddy... I feel like his buddy was like, she left her husband for this dick, and he's out doing blow with some race groupie. If I tell her how bad this is, maybe she'll leave with me.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Who knows? By 81, they're completely getting broken apart here.
Wow.
They have a huge fight. She gets fired from Delta Airlines when they have a giant fight at the Bermuda airport where he freaks out and throws shit and yells and screams in the airport. And they basically said, we can't use you anymore.
Yeah.
You're bringing in psychopaths.
Your husband's
with you.
a lunatic. Please don't come
go
back.
now. So she takes off. He's in Florida still. She moves to Georgia at this point. She moves to Georgia and rents a condo or something out there. She's becomes an aspiring actress. Burt Reynolds filmed a movie there. She got a role as an extra there. She's just trying to stick on to do something
Just
here.
floating in the breeze
They're separated.
Yeah.
And now John comes to visit her in early 81, and says that, he's sorry that he said he wanted a divorce. Now he wants to get back together, blah, 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 blah. Says, come to Florida. We'll have a nice second honeymoon, me and you.
Oh.
Second honeymoon, let's do it.
Coke whore didn't work out?
We're gonna start the romance from the beginning. It's gonna be beautiful. Let's all do this, right? Sounds good for this girl. She's like, I left my husband for this fucking guy. I'd like to make it work, I'm sure.
My life sucks right now.
I got
lost
fired.
My job.
Yeah, I'm doing extra work.
Yeah.
I'm going, ooh, the craft service table looks nice today, and that's the highlight of my day.
There's nice pineapple.
I got problems.
Right.
Yeah, I got issues here. I'm taking candy home with me from it. That's how sad things are. So she agrees to do this.
My dinner last night was mince.
It was mince. She agrees to go. Okay, so summer of 81, she moves. She goes down there to try to reunite, whatever.
Rekindle.
Yeah. They're off Key West because he's got a big boat that they're hanging out on. She disappears in the summer of 81. She's gone.
What?
Gone. That's it. Gone.
There's no story?
He says, I don't know where she went. That's his story.
Because she had a lot to go to.
His story is, I don't know.
She just went away.
I don't know if she left. Maybe she fell off the boat. She took off. I don't fucking know.
She found a nice guy in Key West.
Literally, it's like, I don't know. That's his story. And the cops are like,
okay.
What about this? I don't know. And they have nothing to go on. She's not there. He's like, I don't know. She fucking left. Or maybe she fell in the ocean. I have no idea. I didn't see anything, basically. So they don't know what to do here. They're like, what do we do? There's no real investigation because they don't even know what happened to her.
There's no body.
She's
an
just
adult.
took off.
She can just leave.
That's the thing. Who knows? Maybe she moved to Monaco, for Christ's sake. What do we know where the hell this lady went? When the family talks to him, he just bullies them and he tells them all different stories and just bullies them into saying, I don't know where the hell she is. And they're like, I guess she took off.
Wow.
Her family was messed up, too. She had a messed up family. A lot of her brothers and sisters had legal problems, shit like that. So her family wasn't real on the ball. And this was some rich guy going, I don't know, she disappeared. And they were like, I guess she disappeared. He probably gave him 10 grand or something, and they shut the fuck up.
You know what this is, though? This sounds very similar to every other episode that this predator...
He is a silver-haired middle-aged white man.
But this predator preyed on somebody that was weak, that had nothing and needed somebody. Well, I mean, she had a marriage, but she clearly wasn't happy.
No.
She wanted excitement in her life.
And
she was damaged, and he saw it and fucking went after her. He got her.
And he goes after damaged people more.
And wherever she is...
Now, this seems shady, right?
Mm-hmm.
His wife's...
Super shady.
His wife's gone, new wife. And you'd imagine, like... If he cared, he would look for her, things like that. Yeah. Rather than doing that, in late 81, early 82, he goes off to Haiti to obtain a quickie divorce in Haiti.
What?
Because he couldn't get one here because he would need her consent because she's not dead yet.
Right.
So you got to divorce her. So he just goes to Haiti and gets a divorce because down there apparently you don't need to. Yeah. That's good enough.
Yeah.
A Haitian divorce you got. Anybody down there you don't want to marry, you don't want to be married anymore. Apparently a quick Haitian divorce will clean that right up, no problem. Yeah, she's still missing, so that's...
Who even knew that was an option?
Him.
Yeah.
Rich guys.
Yeah.
Rich guys with sailboats
Yeah.
know that you can go to Haiti to divorce your
Just sail
drowned
to
wife.
Haiti.
Yeah, you can drown your wife and then divorce her in some third world shithole. Perfect, before it's destroyed by some natural disaster. February 1st, 1982, he's back on the track. I mean, this has just happened. He just went and got a quickie divorce, back on the track. They've put together a Porsche 935 turbo. Now, this is from a model they bought for $200. It was in 1969. He bought for $200 and fixed it up the way he. This is the thing. He makes everything to his specs.
Yeah.
Nothing is to.
It's got to fit him.
Well, yeah, because I guess there's an article later on talking about how great he is, saying how he takes a car that would be $300 grand off the line from Porsche, a factory race car that they build for him, and he makes them for $150, basically, because he does it himself.
Okay.
And his cars are better than theirs, basically, is what they're saying. So they say how smart he is. Anyway, they win the 24 Hours of Daytona race, which is a big deal. That's a huge deal in the racing world. In this particular racing world. This is in February of '82. They lead for almost the entire race. Their car is just way better than everybody else's.
Wow.
Just way better. The winning team receives $30,000 for winning this. The car costs $225 grand to build. That's why everyone in this sport was importing and smuggling drugs.
Yeah.
Because you had to.
There's
because
no
it's
money
not
in it.
profitable, basically.
Right.
It's just you can't do anything. No sponsors are that dumb either. Hey, let's take it in the neck for $200 grand a race. Nobody's doing that.
To win it.
Yeah, in the
That's
early 80s.
if you win.
Yeah, in the early 80s. So
That Porsche 935 is a badass car.
it's a
too.
badass car.
It's a gorgeous one.
I'll tell you where you can get a model of it later on.
All right.
Or already built, or one that you can put together yourself.
All right.
Neat, but they're online here. But anyway, we have it in their own words on winning the 24 Hours of Daytona, and the way they did it was kind of neat too. On that, in their own words, quote, "We played it cool. The car was babied all the way. It was never off the road, never in any real trouble. We were running a low compression motor, and I think we could have gone another 24 hours. It was just handed to us. We didn't plan to lead the race like we did, but all the other guys just broke."
Wow.
So, I mean, they ran this race, and they ran it so well that they ended up winning by 11 laps.
What?
It was a
fuck?
record, and I'll tell you in a second that they could have won it by way more, and I'll tell you why they didn't.
Just not even close.
It's ridiculous. In this race, in the final half hour of the race, John Paul Sr. hops into the driver's seat to finish it off, because it was him. John Paul Jr. is also racing with him. They become the first father-son team to win this race. And there's one other guy he's a nobody racer. I looked him up, doesn't matter. His name, fuck him. So, anyway, he gets in a half hour because he wants to be at the end of the race. He wants to be in the driver's seat, John Paul Sr. And in their own words on that, he says also, too, that he almost crashed. This is another thing, too. A guy, he came really close to crashing into the wall. Somebody was trying to run him into the wall, basically, in the end there. Somebody was just, I guess, pissed and trying to take a cheap shot.
Right.
So we have an in their own words on this, which is hilarious. It's the most ironic thing. It's so funny because you're like, oh, really? But in their own words, quote, "I had nowhere to go. This guy just kept moving me up and forcing me into the wall. I was fortunate to get away unscathed. It could have been worse, a lot worse. Can you believe somebody would do that? To have so little respect for the lives of drivers and for the sport?"
Oh my God.
He's taken aback. Take that shit and take it aback your ass.
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me.
Hey, where's your wife, sir?
Yeah, excuse me. Where's that wife that you just married 6 months ago, a year ago? Where's she at?
Why don't you care about her?
In the ocean in Key West somewhere.
Yeah, you got no respect for her.
No shit. Now, they could have won by more than 11 laps, but they were so far ahead that they stopped to wash the car and put fresh...
What the fuck?
To wash the car and put fresh decals on it so it would look nice for the cameras at the finish line.
Can you imagine?
That's how far ahead they were. They're like, just wash it, redecal it, just do the whole thing. I don't know. Just make it look pretty.
Can you imagine somebody doing that in NASCAR? Like just
hanging out on the side. And I picture him too, John Sr. smoking a cigarette, waiting for him. He almost done with his accent.
He's got his boy over there detailing the tires.
Chain smoke, picking up butts off the ground and smoking them, trading them for somebody's half-eaten hot dog up in the stand.
Dylan, our junior
Sorry,
son.
habit. I must trade cigarettes for...
If you don't smoke, you don't understand.
For food scrap, I don't know. Half of Winston for half of hot dog. So, yeah, this is, anyway, so he takes over last part of the race and finishes it up and becomes the hero. We have an in their own words on that.
Yeah.
In their own words, quote, "I wanted to be the hero at the end. My son is going to get a chance to win a whole lot more races. I wanted to be there at the end on this one."
All right.
He's like, I want to, this might be my last shot of glory here. I'm getting older. We'll let my kid, he's fine later on. So by 1982, Paul Jr. and Sr. had the longest winning streak in the history of the Camel GT series at 5 consecutive races. They
Camel,
won.
Sponsored by cigarettes?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Winston, it was all cigarette companies back then. So he was happy with that.
Yeah,
He
he's
might
fine
have
with
got
that.
free cigarettes. He didn't have to pick them up.
It's just
off the
interesting
ground.
the time difference between
Oh.
now and then.
Well,
There's no fucking way they'd let Marlboro sponsor something
It
now.
was the Winston Cup till
Yeah,
5 years
sure
ago.
was.
It
You're
was the
right.
Winston Cup till 5
Now it's
years
the
ago.
Nextel
And it was
Cup, right?
Nextel. It was
Yeah.
I think it was 6, 7 years ago, maybe
That's
2010.
right.
So, that was ingrained in that culture.
That's so crazy. I didn't even realize that.
Moonshine can't sponsor anything.
Yeah, no doubt.
They
Yeah.
needed some sort of something. They had Skull, I know.
Yes.
And,
That was the car that Don Perdome drove, and he was a drag racer. He drove the Skull funny
Wow.
car, too.
That is way too much redneckery for this episode. We'll end it right there. So right after this race, there's articles coming out left and right where he is the king of the world here. Now he did also, they just ignored the fact that he also got busted importing a shitload of weed. That's just brushed under as a possession of marijuana. Nobody ever mentions it.
Yeah.
In all these articles in the early 80s, no one ever says who got busted for importing a shitload of weed 2 years ago.
Shitload. Almost
Never
a
comes
ton.
up. Never comes up. These reporters do not do their homework at all. There's an
And has a missing wife.
that's the other thing. Where's your fucking wife? Listen to this article.
And they're just celebrating him.
This is February 82. This is like 6 months after his wife went mysteriously missing and he has no answers for it. And he went to Haiti to get a quick divorce. Get a quickie Haitian divorce, okay? Article in the St. Petersburg Times, St. Petersburg, Florida. It's a legitimate paper.
Yeah.
If the article is called, quote, "A winning creed on and off the track."
Holy shit.
Do your fucking homework. Where's your wife, asshole? I'm so mad at journalists. I'm so fucking mad at them because okay, you ever watch The Wire? You don't watch The Wire.
Right.
A lot of people out there watch The Wire. In the 5th season, there's a big storyline of one of the reporters, fluffs up people's quotes and makes shit up and tries to make stories better so he could win a fucking Pulitzer. Okay? I don't know what it is. They're trying to write these big redemption pieces, and it's do your homework.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I'm not a journalist, and I find this shit easy. I get that I have Google, but you guys had whatever the equivalent to that was, and you're a goddamn reporter. Talk to another fucking reporter. Go, you know anything about this guy?
Right.
Does he have a dead wife or a drug trafficking
How about St.
arrest?
Petersburg is on the west side of Florida. It's up near Tampa, near Clearwater area.
Yeah.
Right around that bend is a little place called Louisiana where he was arrested
Right there.
for 1,500 pounds
there.
of weed.
I just figure it out. He's a famous guy. I'm sure that was in a newspaper somewhere in an archive. You could have found it like I did. So
Unbelievable.
anyway, the article's about how successful he is and how he puts the cars together at a lower cost. And he's a genius, this guy. Just a brilliant man.
Yeah.
So 1982.
With numbers, though.
With numbers.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you look at numbers,
And
the numbers
putting this
don't
shit
fucking
together.
add up.
No.
The championship money versus what it costs to be champion doesn't fucking equate.
Oh, by the way, guys, we've had so far, he's smuggled a bunch of weed. He's probably killed his wife, more than likely killed his wife. So, he's gotten his teenage son into drug trafficking with him.
He's not a great man.
Not even close. Not even, he hasn't even dipped his toe in the water. Literally, he put his finger in his mouth and held it up to see which way the wind was blowing.
See where the crime was coming
That's
from.
it. That's all he's done. That's it. He's not even dipped his finger in the crime pool yet.
Which way are the crime winds blowing?
I am telling you, man. So, 1982, early 82, he marries another woman.
What the fuck? This guy can't get enough.
Nope. He marries a woman named Hope, who's the sister of another racer named Hurley Haywood.
All right.
So that's his sister. He needed a quickie Haitian divorce so he could marry this broad. They have a daughter immediately in 1982. I think another. She's getting big. You better marry her. He has his.
She's getting big.
He's got his 50 sensibility.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll traffic drugs. I'll kill a broad, but if I knock one up, I'll fucking marry her.
I'll marry her.
I will marry her. They have a daughter named Adrian at that point, which is funny because that's when Rocky was really big. It's like Rocky 2 was out back then. You named your kid Adrian.
name.
I feel like he liked Rocky a lot too. He's like, he make it big.
Why
did I make him shawarma man?
Yeah.
Never mind.
What an
Okay.
ugly name. I hate that name.
April 19th, 1983. Wow. Okay, Jimmy. Here's when he really goes off the deep end, and it gets worse from here. But this is the beginning of the craziness. Okay, April 19th, 1983. A man named Stephen Carson, who is a federal witness in an ongoing racketeering and conspiracy drug case, is shot in Crescent Beach, Florida. It's late at night. He comes in from a fishing trip, a midnight fishing trip with a friend. He gets off. He's on like the boat dock, and from what he says, our Mr. John Paul Sr. here accosts him, comes up to him with a gun, and tells him to get in the trunk of his car.
Oh my God!
He's trying to put him in a trunk. So if this crazy son of a bitch is telling you to get in the trunk, you don't get in the fucking trunk.
No.
Okay. The most terrifying man I've ever met. You don't get in his trunk.
No.
So he runs.
Good for him.
He takes off, but there's 5 shots fired at him. He's hit twice and falls down, and then Mr. Paul Sr. here comes up and gives him a 3rd shot while he's down. So he came up for the fucking kill shot.
He's trying to get him.
He's cold-blooded, man.
Yeah.
He's cold-blooded. He does this, and I guess he thinks he killed him. He takes off. It turns out that he did not kill him. Mr. Carson here, Stephen Carson,
son of a bitch.
is a tough son of a bitch. He loses a kidney. He has all sorts of problems and a million surgeries. I mean, he got shot 3 times.
Yeah.
Pretty good, like I said.
Point blank.
Yeah, point blank. And he lost a kidney, like I said. He's a mess, this guy. So he's got problems. So he says, fucking John Paul shot me. I know who shot me. John Paul did. So the authorities look for him. So he is nowhere to be found for 2 months, basically. Since this shooting, he takes off, is gone. Nobody sees him or his wife.
It's a good indicator that he did it.
That's a good indicator that he did it, exactly. He likes to run, this guy. He's done it several times. He's going to do it several more.
And he's got endurance.
Yes. Finally, June 28th, 1983, he turns himself into authorities in St. Augustine, Florida for attempted first-degree murder.
Jesus.
That's rough because it's a federal witness. It's to shut a fucking witness up.
That's steep.
The witness had given grand jury testimony on drug trafficking in North Florida, which is we're going to get to why that's hilarious in a second. The way he turned himself into is funny. He was at his lawyer's office, Davis Upchurch, which sounds like a very silver-haired middle-aged white man.
No doubt.
He called from there and was like, I'm here and I'll go turn myself in. He goes to they take him to St. Johns County Jail. He pleads not guilty to first-degree murder. Okay, he's been being held on a $500,000 bond, which is pretty serious. We'll get to why he's such an idiot in a minute about the testimony at the grand jury, but that's coming up in a second. Paul Sr. here claims that, I don't know what the hell you're talking about here about this thing. I didn't shoot him. I couldn't have shot him. I was in Miami at the Coconut Grove Hotel having dinner with 2 of my friends when the shooting took place. I was hanging out there drinking, hadn't even a bite to eat at midnight in Miami.
Enjoying South Beach.
Enjoying my money. I don't know what the hell you're talking about here. They don't buy that, obviously. The next day, once they capture him, Stephen Carson, the shot man, the witness, files a civil lawsuit against him, too.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. He details the shooting in the lawsuit, tells him exactly what happened. Says he returned from the midnight trip, blah, 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 blah. This whole thing is hilarious, first of all. Okay, now, I need to take a sidebar here on this article on June 29th that I found in the newspaper about him filing the civil lawsuit. I need to take a sidebar because every once in a while I see one of these things in these old newspapers that really catches my eye. And this caught my eye. An ad for 2-liter bottles of Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, Pepsi Free, Pepsi Light, whatever the fuck that is. They already have Diet Pepsi, and Mountain Dew.
Oh, no Crystal Pepsi.
2-liter bottles. This is $7.83. Okay. Crystal Pepsi's like $93. Yeah. 2-liter bottles are $1.19 a piece. Mm-hmm. That's what they cost now.
Yeah.
That's what they cost now. That's the equivalent in '83 of $2.86. That would be a 2-liter soda being $2.86, which is soda prices have gone nowhere.
Nowhere. There's some on sale. You can get them at 99 cents.
Yes, that's what I mean. But cigarettes, there's an ad for cigarettes in this
Can I guess?
thing. Guess what they are.
I'm going to go with 89 cents.
3 packs for $2.89.
Oh, my God.
3 packs for $2. How the fuck has soda gone down so much and cigarettes have gone through the roof?
They're both
What
equally
happened?
bad for you.
The other thing I saw that just looked terrible was for 75 cents you can get a frozen what's called a poquito burrito. It has on the package, it says, quote, the barbecue sauce burrito.
Gross.
Which just sounds like some disgusting white trash shit right there that I don't want any
That
part
sounds
of.
like 3 things that the same person buys, though.
Absolutely.
You will buy the poquito burrito, 3 packs of cigarettes, and a 2-liter of Mountain Dew.
And
you will
it's all
consume
on
them in
sale
an afternoon.
for less than $5. For less than $5, you can get all those things. Try that now. You walk in with a 5.
You can't get a poquito burrito for $5 now.
Yeah, the poquito burrito is going to cost you, goddammit. So July 8th, 1983, John Sr. here, he posts bond and gets out of jail. They give him bail.
$50,000.
Well, he ends up posting a $250,000 bond. 25, because it's a $500K bond they want. $250,000 bond, $25,000 cash, and the remainder in a promissory note tied to his assets if he doesn't appear.
Oh, shit.
So they're not fucking around.
Yeah.
They're like, we want
Well, it's
you to show
first-degree
up.
murder.
It's of a federal witness.
Right.
So they're like, we really want you to show up here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Love to have a chat with you.
Love to keep you around for later. You know. While this is going on, July 17th, 1983, Paul Jr. is doing well on the racing circuit.
Really?
He wins the Michigan 500.
Wow.
Misses some open wheel shit here because the guys, and I don't know shit about racing, and I know who these people are. That's how famous the second and third place are. Second place is Al Unser.
What?
And third place is Mario Andretti.
And he beat both of them?
He beat both of them and wins the race.
Wow.
So he's an up-and-comer. And they all have really nice things to say about him, too. They go, he's a real nice kid and good racer, and he's going to be good shit.
Al
There's a
Unser
lot of
was
great
the
quotes.
shit.
Absolutely. It's his first IndyCar win here. His dream is to win Indy 500, obviously, just like Randy Lanier wanted to do. Paul Jr. here has a quote he said about winning this race. He says, quote, I've had a pretty dramatic career already. I never expected to be running competitive yet. I figured it would take maybe 2 or 3 years in this kind of racing, but you've got to give my crew a lot of credit. He's a real nice guy. I like how he notes that I've had a dramatic career. I've already had a drug bust.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep my shit together and be cool. You know what I mean?
And I just beat Mario Andretti and Al Unser.
And Al
Both.
Unser. So, September 16th, 1983, Stephen Carson, the shot federal witness from earlier here, who was shot on the boat ramp, he testifies in a deposition, and he says that he was involved with Paul Sr. with some smuggling in the mid-'70s, but that in this grand jury, Carson never mentioned Paul Sr.'s fucking name.
Oh, so Paul got word that this fucker's
And he
talking
thought
to
he
the
was talking
feds.
about him.
Yep.
And he said, I never talked about him. And this is in a deposition with the cops who have access to what he said.
He
So
is a scary man.
he didn't say anything about him. He's the most terrifying man ever.
Yeah.
Shot him for nothing, and let's see why he didn't mention his name. Old Stephen Carson, a quote from him. He says, quote, I didn't mention John Paul's name at all because I was afraid that man might kill me if I did mention his name. I had spoken to my attorney a year or two ago, and I told him that if anything ever happened to me, John Paul would have probably been the man that had done it. So everyone's scared of this guy, scared for their life around him. You know, these
Even
people,
the federal witness
even a
is
federal witness.
a guy that's already under protection for the government.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't
He
matter.
won't
a
talk
drop.
about it.
Nope, he
No.
has no fucking interest here. So at this point, articles appear. December 13th, 1983, he's got to come back for court here on the 12th. So by the 13th, there's articles out saying that Paul Sr. did not show up for his December 12th court date.
Uh-oh.
He blows it off with a $500,000 bond. Judge Richard Weinberg revokes his bond, his $500,000 bond, and issues a warrant for his arrest, dismisses potential jurors, says, fuck this isn't happening. He didn't show up. Now he's fucking coming in. His attorney, Paul Sr.'s attorney, Ed Garland, who's you could see his silver hair from space. Ed Garland, the attorney to Paul fucking...
Sounds like a guy that wears a bolo tie.
Oh, God, probably. He said, quote, he has not arrived and he had full notice that the case was on this morning. So he can't protect him here because he has to say, I told him to show up because that's my ass with the bar. I have to act like I was a lawyer and did the right thing. So he's on his own. Detective Neil Perry of the St. Johns County Sheriff Department said, we don't know where to look for him. They have no clue where to look for him.
Try the racetrack.
No, we'll find out where he hid out for a little while, and then he went somewhere much more fun. But we'll find out where he hid out for just a little while because it's hilarious. But that's coming up in a little while when they start to do this. Now, when he leaves here, the most money ever, because a $500,000 bond was forfeited, and this is tied to they're getting $500,000 back here. The largest bond that was ever forfeited in the history of the county previously was $30,000.
So they took a trailer back from somebody.
Yeah, this
is going to be a big fucking undertaking.
This is windfall here for them. December 14th, 1983.
The county's getting a new courthouse.
Yeah, no shit. Now, the next day, since now he's on the lam, they don't know where he is. He could be anywhere. They start saying that authorities come out and say Stephen Carson, the victim of the shooting here, his testimony is going to be videotaped in this trial, in the attempted murder trial, quote, in case he becomes unavailable.
They already know. He's a dangerous motherfucker.
He's in danger. Dude's out there. Anything could happen. Now, Assistant State Attorney Steve Alexander said, quote, since John Paul allegedly tried to terminate him one time, there is that possibility.
Terminate him.
So we should probably get his shit on tape and get it
I
on
love
tape
that
now.
they used that word.
Yeah, Carson's going to testify on tape later in the week. They're going to get it locked down
right
then,
now.
and they said that will count just as if he did it in front of a jury, same thing. Now, March 8th, 1984, John Paul Sr., this is 3 months later, John Paul Sr.'s wife, Hope, is charged with perjury and witness tampering.
Oh, shit.
So they're bringing her in now, trying to draw him out.
Yeah.
They're arresting her. She still refuses to give the whereabouts of her husband. She's being held on $500,000 bond, so they're holding her the same as they're holding him. The allegations are that she asked Robert Hamill, a friend of theirs, to lie for John Sr. to the cops about where he was the night of the shooting. Basically, he's one of the Coconut Grove Hotel friends in Miami. So that goes on for a few months. They keep her until July 27th. So she's held for a while. They finally are like, fuck it, he's not coming out. It's not up to them. It's up to a judge. Hope Paul here is cleared of perjury and witness tampering charges. The charges are dismissed by Judge Richard Watson, citing insufficient evidence to present to the 6-person panel about it.
Yeah.
They just don't have evidence that she did it. The guy said she didn't tell me to lie. She said I didn't tell him to lie. What are they going to do?
Their word versus hers.
And they don't have any proof of anything.
Right.
So
there's no videotape. There's no audio tape.
So now, October 17th, 1984, Paul Sr. hasn't been seen in a while now. He's on the fucking lam for, a few months now.
How does he do it?
He's indicted on 17 counts of money laundering.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, U.S. Attorney Jim Fagan said he was laundering profits from drug trafficking, obviously. Now, there's an ad in this article. Another advertisement that I had a problem with here in this article. It's an advertisement for a place called Lloyd's Video Warehouse in 1984, where you could get a Magnavox VCR.
All right.
And this is, you get like 30 of these, you could build a house. They were enormous, these fucking things. For $349.
Holy shit! Were they that much money?
That much, and that's 1984 money. So that's like,
my goodness.
That's how much those are. It's like, imagine you go to get a DVD player and it's $800. Like, holy shit!
I guess I'm not going to watch Titanic.
And it was on sale for $80 off. So it's normally a $430 item. This Magnavox
crazy.
VCR. Yeah, I had to get that because
Magnavox was rolling it in.
And Lloyd's Video Warehouse was advertising this like it was the shit. Like they had something to offer.
Some hi-fi.
So January 11th, 1985, John Paul Sr., still missing, is arrested. Where do you think he got arrested, Jimmy?
I'm going to guess Mexico.
Mexico, well, you figure maybe like
Jamaica. Bermuda.
Some backwoods, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
He's in in
a bunker
Georgia
somewhere.
No, he's in Geneva, Switzerland. He goes.
How the fuck did he get there?
He goes hard when he goes. He doesn't mess around.
When he runs, he runs.
He's arrested there. They have an extradition warrant here, obviously, for him. He's also going to face charges in in Switzerland of bank fraud. That's how they arrested him there, because he did something stupid.
I hope he was wearing like lederhosen or some shit, some weird fucking
some traditional garb. January
wooden clogs and shit.
Jesus Christ, I think that's Holland, all right. January 16th, 1985. He's indicted in Jacksonville, Florida. Now they're still indicting him. He's still overseas. They're indicting him because now they know where he is.
Yeah.
So they indict him more on racketeering charges. They indict 5 other men with him, including a man named David J. Casorla, who comes up later, and also
dangerous.
Paul Jr. is named in this indictment.
Oh, no.
Charges of the drug smuggling operation. I feel so bad for Paul
Damn
Jr.
it, Paul.
He's doing great for himself, and he's back into this
You just
shit.
beat Al Bouncer.
Yeah.
You just beat Mario Andretti, and now you're fucking rocked up on charges.
They say they smuggled in at least 200,000 pounds of marijuana from Colombia into Louisiana and Florida over the years. And that's probably what they did. They probably did way more than that.
Yeah.
They claim over 200,000 pounds from 75 to 1981, which they way more than that, I would assume, if you're doing that. Now,
They got caught one night with 1,500.
the next day, that's what I mean.
Pretty easy in 5 years to get
The next day, an article comes out about what the cops discovered on an old property that he had and where he was hiding out before he went to Switzerland. January 17th here comes out. A large underground cavern is discovered.
He's got a bunker.
In Corinth, in an Atlanta suburb. It is on a farm that he bought. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation were suspicious starting in March 1983 when a Netherlands-based corporation bought the 600-acre property.
There's where the bank fraud comes in.
No. That's something different in
Really?
Switzerland. We'll get to that. Basically, you'd go in through the barn, and there was a trap door, and you'd go down a shaft.
Wow.
You'd climb down, and there was a 25-foot tunnel underground leading to a 200-foot by 40-foot room. That's a big room. 200 feet's a big fucking room.
Is that 8,000 square feet?
It's a big room.
That's 8,000 square feet.
It's a big. I don't know how square footage is measured, but
40
it's not.
times
It's more
200.
than 800. It's got to be. So yeah.
40 times 200.
Yeah, that's
huge.
That's a big room.
Yeah.
It's a grow operation.
Yeah.
They find $40,000 worth of grow lights to grow marijuana. They find a $40,000 generator to provide power to the grow lights. There's an unnamed source that says they knew about this whole thing.
El Chapo?
He had tanks of diesel. They had full giant gas tanks under the cavern, that for the generators.
Right.
So they were. It's insane. They were buried under that. The cave was supported by steel I-beams, and then it had sheet metal and plastic over it, and buried. And everybody said, like, once grass grew over it, you'd never know you were walking on anything.
Wow.
You have no idea. It was just, they buried it. Cost an estimated $350,000 to build it.
Wow.
Yeah, they said that Paul and co-defendant Christopher Schill, who, if you remember, was the fella who got busted with taking the equipment on, putting it on the pickup truck with Junior there in Louisiana on the bayou. They found it because the property is foreclosed on once he went on the lam, and then it was bought again by the original owner, and there was
and the owner went into the barn and was like, "What's down here?
What's down here?"
Yeah.
And then, wow, holy shit,
Smells like weed in here.
Yeah, so basically they think they have evidence that he was living down there for a while. He just went and hid in the cavern, and then he takes off to Switzerland.
What evidence?
They estimated he could grow $4 million worth of weed a year in there, and that's 1985 weed.
Holy shit!
$4 million worth of weed in '85 is a lot of fucking weed.
He can grow that underground. That's crazy.
Underground. He had the whole thing. Nothing was growing at the time of the discovery. They think it had been abandoned since like January '84, basically when it was foreclosed on. Where he hid out down there. Now, June 17th, '85, Charles Evers. This is interesting. One of the guys who was indicted in that recent one with Paul Jr., with John Jr., is caught on a sailboat. He's a wanted man because he was indicted. The Coast Guard officers intercept his boat between Haiti and Cuba. So he's out there just sailing like fucking, like a pirate. He thinks he's Jack Sparrow out there, and they're picking him up. Going, no, not so fast, asshole. Get back here. What do you think you're doing? So August 1985, John Paul Jr. here pleads guilty to racketeering charges and possessing a false passport. This is in the indictment that John Sr. was named in and all that. So he gets that. His sentencing is going to come later, but he pleads guilty to that to get a low sentence. He's trying to not get jail time for this because he's turned his life around. He hasn't touched weed. He's been good for 5 years. And he really has been good for 5 years.
He's staying out of it.
He's been good. So November 20th, 1985, the Swiss government orders the extradition of John Paul Sr. to the U.S. for the federal drug charges and the murder charges also. Attempted murder. There's going to be a slight delay in getting him over here because there's also the fraud charges filed against him in Switzerland. A federal prosecutor said, I understand he faces some type of bank fraud charges in Switzerland, so we're going to have to wait for him, which is amazing. January 15th, 1986. John Paul Sr. is found guilty in Switzerland of possessing a false passport. He's sentenced to 6 months in jail. Paul is...
that gives him plenty of time to rock him up here now.
Well, he's acquitted of fraud in connection. Basically, he purchased 2,331 South African gold coins and then deposited them in a Swiss bank using a false passport.
That's where
so they
the
said
fraud
that
is.
He didn't do anything fraudulent with the money part, just the passport.
It's just who the fuck he is.
He's sentenced to 6 months, but since he's been in custody forever, for 10 months or something, he's been in custody. He goes to jail for 10 days, and it's time served, and they kick his ass back to here. His lawyer is promising still to try to fight the extradition charge, the extradition warrant. He's saying that he's taking it to. He filed an appeal with the Swiss Federal Tribunal, which, from what I understand, is the equivalent of their Supreme Court. They oversee all the watches and chocolate in the land, and they make sure it's
watches and chocolate.
They just make sure all the chocolate is nice and sweet, and the watches run perfectly. That's their job. I don't know what else happens.
As long as they are crisp and tick.
All of the snow globes come out nicely and have a mountain in the middle. So June 29th, 1986, Paul Sr.
Is that also where IKEA is from? Switzerland.
Sweden.
Oh, Sweden.
They're Sweden.
I thought they were Switzerland.
Maybe it might be Switzerland. I don't fucking know. I hate
I'll Google. Keep going.
Furniture. So Paul Sr. March 29th.
I hate furniture.
I hate that fucking
Oh,
furniture.
okay. I thought you said I hate furniture.
I want to put it together. Thanks. So March 29th, 86, Paul Sr. is returned to the U.S. to face his attempted murder and federal drug charges. He's flown into Jacksonville International Airport. That's some highfalutin shit. Hey, look, it's Jacksonville International. Jacksonville shouldn't have an international.
No.
He's under heavy security when he returns.
I think you have to say, legally, you have to say it with an accent. It's not Jacksonville. There's no Jacksonville. It's Jacksonville.
Ugh, no, thank
Jacksonville.
you. It's no offense to the southern accent, but I can't.
That is the most hillbilly fucking place. My dad's from there. That's why.
Perfect. So you know these things. You know how they operate.
Everything's covered in fucking gator. Go on.
St. Johns County Sheriff Neil Perry says, we consider him to be a dangerous individual, a high escape risk, and also could easily be the target of some people who do not want him to testify against them. So he's under heavy security.
It's about to get great.
May 7th, 1986 is sentencing day for John Paul Jr.
Oh, no.
He receives 5 years in federal prison.
Ouch.
That is brutal, man. Part of the agreement, though, he does not. This is where they got him.
How old is he at this point?
He was 26.
Oh, my God.
He could have gotten slightly less time, I feel like, here, but part of the agreement is he does not have to testify against his father if there's a trial.
That's nice.
So I think that was part of what he wanted, was not to have to testify. Judge Susan Black denied a request to delay sentencing on Junior. He wanted to delay sentencing till after May 25th, which is 3 weeks from then, so he could race in the Indianapolis 500. And Susan Black said, go fuck yourself. You're going to prison instead. Yeah. He also receives 5 years probation on top of that. For when he gets out. He'd been doing anti-drug work with kids. He was basically trying to inoculate himself against this from the time it happened.
Right.
He went straight to making speeches to kids, just preemptive attack on. He starts making speeches to the kids and just making it.
Fixing his character.
He's doing it. That way he can go to the judge and say, for the last 2 years, actually, I've been doing this and this and this, and my life's completely turned around, and I'm doing it. That's what he said. And he did, too. Said he had an 18-month-old daughter. He's trying to have a new life. Michael Andretti, who's the next generation Andretti, said about him, quote, "It's a shame, a real shame. He's a nice guy and he was just going along with that. He was just going along with his father. He was awfully young when all that happened."
Yeah, no
so
doubt.
He's basically saying he was like 18 years old and he was under his father's control. What the fuck do you want out of this kid?
Doing what he was raised in.
What do you want out of him? His father told him to help him.
Right.
He said, "Hey, you want to race? You want to have all this shit in a nice house and all this?
This is how we make the money for that.
This is how we do it. Right. I'm smart. I went to Harvard. Get in the fucking boat.
Right.
Drive the pickup truck." So, May 20th, 1986, John Sr. rejects a plea deal for the attempted murder of Stephen Carson. They try to do the plea deal with him. He says no. Trial's set to begin June 9th. So June 4th comes up, and he pleads guilty now to attempted first-degree murder in St. Augustine here. This is a state charge. He still faces the federal charge of running a continuing criminal enterprise. Agreement is for no more than 20 years on this charge. Any sentence from the federal charge is to run concurrent with this sentence, too.
Okay.
So that's his deal. He's trying to get out of it. Assistant State Attorney Stephen Alexander, again, said of St. Johns County will get $517,000, which is $17,000 in interest plus the $500,000 they owe him. U.S. Justice Department confiscated $175,000 cash on him when they arrested him overseas, so they're going to give that to the county to start his restitution. And he could have faced life for the Carson case, attempted first-degree murder of a witness. So he's going to get 20. That's the minimum. That's whatever. So state agrees to drop the attempted kidnapping, use of a firearm after conviction of a felony because of the weed thing, and failure to appear for trial. They drop all that. The prosecutor says, quote, he has bigger and better things waiting for him in Jacksonville, talking about a federal criminal conspiracy trial,
no
which
doubt.
is like RICO shit. Paul's attorney, Ed Garland, is back again. He's a silver-haired, middle-aged attorney here. Says,
speaking through his bowl of tie.
This is the ultimate no shit quote here. Quote, he's desirous of disposing of these problems and paying the price for his conduct. We feel it is a severe punishment, but it is his expressed desire to get his problems behind him. He just wants to get behind all this attempted murder stuff. He's good now. So, Richard Weinberg is the judge. He delays sentencing until after the federal charge comes down because he wants to figure out how that works. January 21st, 1987, John Paul Sr. pleads innocent to 10 federal racketeering and conspiracy charges. This is the federal thing here. It's officially coming out.
And he's pleading not guilty to that.
He's pleading not guilty. For leverage.
For now, right.
March 3rd, 1987, he agrees to a plea deal in the federal drug charge. No deal details yet. They haven't really struck one. He just said, I'll plead to something.
Yeah.
Now, he does this, I think, to buy some time because he does one of the stupidest things ever on March 10th, 1987. This is stupid. This is a Harvard graduate.
I love how excited you are about how dumb he is.
Well, this is a Harvard graduate.
Yeah.
This is a man who should fucking know better than most of this shit.
Right.
Especially what he's going to do here.
All right.
Okay. This is where, after this, hold on. Wait, we'll see who's going to happen because this is how dumb this is. March 10th, 1987, at the Baker County Jail, 9:40 a.m., Paul and another inmate, a guy named Gary Wayne Fowler, who sounds like a redneck child molester. You don't hang out with that guy.
Yeah.
They try to escape.
Oh, God.
What they do is they make a mixture of hot sauce, black pepper, pine sol, and hot water and put it in a shampoo bottle and spray it at a guard in his face. And then they make a break for the fence. There's a 12-foot fence. As they're climbing it, the guard bucks a couple of shots off to scare them, and they surrender. Later on, they surrender like, oh, never mind. Later on...
We were just kidding. We was just fooling about.
Sorry, our bad.
Yeah.
So,
how your eyes?
I'm good now. Really. So the authorities also find a stolen truck with the keys in the ignition right outside the fence where they were climbing, so they had outside help in this deal. He's got money. Who knows?
He just didn't count on the guard being armed.
He didn't count on the guard. I guess he thought it was going to be like sulfuric acid. Yeah. His face would melt off. It's fucking hot pepper. It's not... It's going to go, ow, that stings. Hey, come back. Pow.
Hey, you bastard.
That's it. So U.S. Attorney Tom Morris said, if it is indeed a legitimate escape attempt, it will change or eliminate any offer the government might make. We ordinarily prosecute escapes.
Yeah.
No shit, right? So March 10th, 1987, same day here, Paul's attorney, Janice Singer, said, oh, no, it's fine. He said, oh, no, these things are still being negotiated, and hopefully in a few weeks everything will be worked out. This didn't even happen. She said she's confident the authorities are mistaken about the whole thing. Fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
So this idiot at this point, when he went back in his cell, I mean, what else could have happened? I wanted him to be a little hungry and go into the cafeteria and have the guy turn around and it be the shawarma man and have him say, how is it you have arrived to be here? Huh? Why are you here? What's wrong? Why you come here? You go get college from fancy place. You give you degree. You have fancy car. You have silk robe. You walk around house. Feel on your
sailboat. You have sailboat.
You have silk rope. You feel on your balls when you walk. You understand in your house. You have so much everything. Sign say closed. You come. Why you come here? Huh?
You know difference between starboard and port side.
Why you come? Huh? You want shawarma? I make for you. That's why you here.
Sign say closed.
Sign say closed. You should know. You know how to read. You go to college. Very fancy. Holy fucking shit. You dumb fuck. Somebody needed to go, hey, dumb fuck.
Yeah.
Not only have you ruined your life, now you're hilarious.
Fowler should have said to him, dude, shampoo and hot sauce isn't going to do it.
For real, dude?
Yeah.
This is how low you've... I thought you were a genius.
I thought you were a genius.
What happened? What happened, bro? Seriously. Honestly.
The shampoo is going to moisturize his face.
So April 24th, 1987, a federal judge is sick and tired of this bullshit of him not reaching a plea agreement, basically going back and forth. And he says, we're having a trial May 13th.
Nice.
If you don't have a plea agreement by then, that's what's going to happen. So May 3rd, they come up with something after 2 months of negotiating.
That'll hasten it.
That hastened it quick. Yeah, that was good. He pleads guilty to operating a continuing criminal conspiracy, tax evasion, and conspiracy to obtain a false passport. Faces a maximum of 25 years plus 120 grand in fines. Also forfeiture of his yacht, Mercedes, and of course the money he had when they got him, 175 grand. So he's paying that shit back.
Yeah.
the criminal conspiracy charge could carry a life sentence in prison without the deal. So it was smart to plea probably for him.
That's deep.
Prosecutors are recommending 15 years without parole for that charge alone, and then whatever from the other. The tax evasion comes from 1979, when the government claims he made over $1 million, but only claimed $67,000.
They didn't want to fucking stop.
So,
they want to get him until he can't get out.
They have a couple in their own words on this, which are great. August 8th, 1987 is the sentencing for him now. Now, he is repeatedly asking for leniency based on he's saying the government's claims are bullshit. But if you make a deal, you're kind of saying,
mercy.
I don't want to go to trial and argue their case.
You're at their mercy.
So he's on here, in their own words, what he says in open court, which is great. We've never had a criminal, in their own words, an athlete, start out with this sentence ever. There's 3 words that none of them have ever used, I think, in this first sentence. Quote, in their own words, "It's principally a matter of volume. You just can't get 80,000 pounds on a 70-foot boat." So we've never had a guy say, it's principally a matter of volume. That is never a sentence that is...
That's a Harvard statement.
Principally a matter of volume. Then he's begging for leniency. There's also letters of support from his children, blah, blah, blah. He says, in their own words, to the judge, quote, "For the last 2.5 years, I've had a lot of time to think and to reflect on the mistakes I've made. I am hopeful I can still make a contribution to my family and to society."
All right. I'm good now.
You have a dead wife.
Yeah.
I'm good
Where
now.
the fuck is she?
I'm good now.
Yeah.
Where is she? Where the fuck is she?
Yeah.
He's given 15 years with no parole for the criminal enterprise charge, plus $100,000 fine. Also 5 years each for the counts of tax evasion and false passport, for a grand total of 25 years, $100,000 fine. You, sir, may fuck off.
No doubt.
Wow.
And that's to run concurrent with the 20 before.
Yeah.
So they just gave him another
jail.
5.
You're going to jail for a little while. You're not. This isn't any fucking 5-year. You'll be out soon.
And
type
no
of
parole.
Shit. No parole.
You're doing the 25.
He's not doing the 25. It's 15 with no parole, but there's also...
Oh, okay. I got you.
We'll get
so
to what
15
happens.
and then 10 years parole can be happening.
Yeah. So basically, and also too, at this point, the attorney is still trying to work out a deal for the attempted escape. They're still trying to...
Oh, Jesus.
Like, come on, let's just ball this up.
Can we just wash that?
At this point, Jesus Christ, he's gotten his son in trouble. His son's in federal prison because of him. He has blown an immigrant's dream, broke Joyce's heart.
Blown an enormous amount of money.
Enormous amount of money. Killed his wife.
There's a disappearance that we haven't dealt with. Yeah.
Wife, shot a federal witness
yeah.
who's got no kidney now. He's got problems.
He's got all kinds of buddies that he wrapped up in all this that have gone to jail.
I feel bad for all these people, Jimmy. I really, really do. But not as bad as I feel for these people. And I had to pick a few because there's a trillion John Pauls out there, so I just had to pick a few.
Thanks a lot, Pope.
And the last one's one the dead Pope, but one John Paul, computer software engineer in India. That poor guy's like, I pick American sounding names so I can do customer service.
I pick American sounding names so I can call and pretend that I'm the IRS.
Yeah, exactly. John Paul, managing director at iCognitive Ltd., a management consulting firm in Singapore.
Oh, goodness.
John Paul, CEO and founder of Venue Next. He went to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. John Paul.
He didn't even go to Harvard, that motherfucker.
No, he doesn't. Thank God. Then they'd never get him apart. They'd never be able to tell him apart. John Paul, administrative executive at GK Sons Engineering Enterprises Private Limited in India. It says on his LinkedIn that he's, quote, an accomplished office administrator with 8+ years of solid experience. So go out and hire that man. He's got a bad name.
8 years.
Most of all, John Paul Sr., because it said it right in his name.
Oh, my God.
John Paul Sr., a poor bastard from Tulsa, Oklahoma, who died in 2014 at the age of 86, whose memory is still tarnished. Services were held at the Thomas More Parish in Tulsa. Rest in peace,
Senior.
So now he sits in prison.
Yeah.
He's in prison now. John Jr. is released in February of '89 from prison.
Okay.
And everybody in the race game, everybody was like, he was a fucking kid and his father was an asshole. They all know his father, what an overbearing asshole he was. They're like, he didn't do anything wrong, whatever. So they allow him back into racing. In 1989, he's in the Indianapolis 500.
Awesome.
He gets to actually run in the race, which is awesome. And his dad gets to sit in fucking jail.
He didn't win
for a while. So his dad sits in jail through the 90s until 1999 when they release him on parole.
What?
Released on parole. He's going to start a new life.
Yeah.
I am good now.
Yeah.
I'm good now, right? Everybody's good? Okay. Early 2000, he just gets out of jail. A woman named Colleen Wood enters the picture. She answers a personal ad of a man that's seeking a sailing companion.
Oh, Jesus.
What do you think that is? She's impressed with his Harvard education and race car driving past. Who do you think this fella is that's looking for a companion?
She had Google, damn it.
She had Google. That's what I mean.
Known.
This is Google. They have a huge romance. They say they're in love, blah, blah, blah. They make plans to sail around the world together on his 55-foot schooner called Island Girl is the name of it. John convinces Colleen to sell her condo and personal belongings because they're sailing around the world. What the hell do you need your condo for? Colleen gives him $43,000 for the trip, is what the initial was. December 3rd, 2000. This is bad when it starts getting broken down into days. You know it's bad.
Yeah.
Colleen calls her son in Ohio and lets her know that they're going to be leaving soon to set sail, and she's going to call him soon, and they'll talk more about it. She'll tell him their plans. They're in Key West at the time, Colleen and John. They're in Key West. Now, December 13th, 10 days later, 2000, a former coworker of Colleen named Maureen Canada, which just sounds an odd name. Hi, I'm Maureen Canada. Sounds like a made-up name.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like an alias.
Yeah. She gets a hold of Colleen and asks her to attend a Christmas party. I guess she's an old coworker. She says, yeah, everybody's going to be there. Come to this Christmas party before you leave.
Yeah.
She says, great, I'll be there, Colleen does. So a few weeks pass, no word from her. The son, Michael, doesn't hear from her. Maureen Canada doesn't hear a goddamn word. Michael calls the police, but there's no evidence of any crime. So they're like, what are we going to do? We have nothing we can do. She's an adult.
Find her.
She's an adult. She can do what she wants. She said she was going to sail around the world. Maybe she took off early. Like, what are we going to send the dogs out after her? So Michael tracks down Paul's daughter. Now, John Paul Jr.'s daughter, Adrian, tracks her down. She tells Michael, the son, that her father told her that Colleen ended the relationship after an argument about an ex-girlfriend that he had. So then a month later...
Maybe it's the ex-girlfriend that disappeared.
Maybe. That would cause an argument.
Yeah.
So a month later, John Paul Sr. here calls Michael because he knows he's trying to calm him down because he's that big of a sociopath. He thinks he can make it cool.
He's got to cover his tracks.
He tells him that they had an argument and he doesn't remember what it was about, and that Colleen left and came back later in the day with her football player, big giant boyfriend, and took all of her belongings, and he hasn't seen her since. That's his story.
I feel like the son doesn't know anything about a football player.
No. So now there's two conflicting stories from this camp. So Michael goes back to the police and says, look, I go to these people. They give me two different stories. I haven't heard from my mother. She usually calls me. Fucking look into this, please. Yeah. So the police look into it. They find that Colleen, there was over 80 ATM advances in the time after she was missing in December for worth over $40,000. They see on the surveillance camera that it's a woman taking the money, but not Colleen. Yeah. It's not John Paul Sr., obviously. The police tracked down the women that were taking out the advances, and they just said that some guy they don't know paid them a percentage of what they withdrew to withdraw the money. He knew about the cameras and was like, you go up there and do it, and I'll take the cash, right? And also they're suspicious because on December 16th, 3 days after that phone call from the Maureen Canada, two ads are placed in the same magazine or the same place that Colleen found his ad, one of which stating that he's looking for a first mate for sailing, and another one stating that in the man-seeking women section. So he put ads out again, so she's not around anymore. So police contact Paul Sr. Let's have a little chat with this guy. He tells them that they had a fight over money that she owed him, and she made no attempt to repay him, and she took off. That's what he tells police. Police are suspicious of him. They said he's acting nervous and evasive and showed no compassion for a woman he's supposed to be in love with. Right. And was completely missing. But there's no physical evidence. There's no evidence of anything.
There's evidence that he robbed her.
But they don't know evidence he robbed her.
Yeah.
It could have been anybody. So, I mean, at this point, they have no evidence. They just go shrug their shoulders and leave him on his boat and go home. Yeah. What else are they going to do? Days later, they're like, well, let's see what's going on with this guy. Let's look into him a little bit. And they figure out, oh, yeah, he's on parole for attempted murder and a conspiracy, and his other wife from 1981 was missing off a goddamn boat.
Right.
Let's look further into this. So they go back to, this is like Kaiser Sose here.
Good.
This is a complete Chaz Palminteri coming back into the office, and no one's sitting there anymore. And you see, Kevin Spacey's going down the street. That's what happened here because he is gone. They go back to where he was docked. He is not there anymore. Boat. He's fucking gone. No one's seen him. He's gone. He leaves the U.S. He's out of the country. He changes the boat's name from Island Girl to Diamond Girl. It's been because he's been seen other places. He is not officially a suspect, but he's still wanted for questioning. This is 16 years later now. He's still wanted for questioning. Also wanted for violating his parole, for leaving the goddamn country. He's not allowed to do that at all. He's been spotted in Fiji.
He's still on the loose?
He's still on the lam, guys.
Wow.
He's been spotted on his boat. That's how they knew about the name change in the Fiji area. And the latest sighting of him and where he's thought to be is in Thailand.
Oh, Jesus.
Living in southern Thailand.
With the lady boys.
People say he works at a dive shop and has some Thai wife that I'm sure he'll kill on a boat.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's the thing. If you have any info on John, if you run across him, please call the Fort Lauderdale Police Department at 954-828-5512 because they're still fucking looking for him.
That's amazing.
Federal government wants him for that. Some sad news here. This John Jr. is just the shit end of every stick. John Jr. in 2001 had to retire from racing due to the effects of Huntington's disease, which is a genetic disorder that causes degeneration of certain brain cells. It's similar to Alzheimer's. It breaks you down physically, mentally, cognitively. It's a genetic disorder. John's grandmother also had it. So he's slowly falling apart. I believe so. He's slowly falling apart now. That's why Joyce was so boring. Maybe she was carrying a horrible
carrying a gene that's killing her.
So this poor goddamn Paul Jr. has gotten the shaft. Meanwhile, his dad's living it up.
Yeah, in Thailand
after killing 2 women and shooting a federal witness and all this. I mean, this guy gets away with everything. Now, if you love this guy and can't get enough of him, feel free to buy his models of the cars he ran in. His second place Daytona 1980 car is a Porsche 935, that model, and they also have the 1982 Daytona Winner 935 model. They're $47.50 each. You can get them either pre-built or you can build them yourself.
Jesus.
And
build it with your kid. Do something.
If you want to follow the case of Shalise Paul, the original dead wife, because that goes on. They're looking hard for her. There's a big online surge. You can follow at Shalise Paul on Twitter.
All right.
CHALICE Paul on Twitter. And there's all sorts of updates on that. And hey, if she ever fucking emerges from the depths, maybe she'll...
That's so sad.
She'll post on Twitter. Maybe she'll be a funny tweeter. We'll see.
Maybe she'll have some sort of not some celebrity
unreal
Twitter account.
Jimmy, wow.
That was a fun one. The coolest part is that he's still out there.
He killed 2 broads and sailed off into the sea, and he's last seen off the coast of Fiji. What the hell kind of shit is that? We have dudes who are like, he grew up without a floor, and then he went to prison, and he ate roaches in his cell, and then he got out, and now he makes speeches to kids, and we're like, that's decent. Or Willie Mays Aikens finds his World Series ring, or whatever the fuck his AL championship ring. This is batshit.
Right.
This guy is a Bond villain. He's a Bond villain.
He really is.
There's going to be another movie. That's the end of a movie that's going to have a sequel. Like him sailing off and the cops can't find him. Where's he going to be? Right. He's going to pop up wreaking more havoc in part 2, and Bond's going to have to take his ass down because he's a fucking Bond villain.
And did all of his dirt in like 80s Florida when America's Most Wanted guy lost his son. Now we need America's Most Wanted guy more than ever.
We do.
Find this motherfucker.
And think about this. While all of this was going on, all this trafficking and all of John Paul Jr., they were all wearing bright pink and green and linen and no socks and worshiping Don Johnson. This was a weird fucking time for America, people. Watch Miami Vice. That's where these people were living.
Men in fishnet shirts, and they didn't suck dicks. They were straight.
It's unbelievable. So that was, like I said, from start to finish, you couldn't write a story like that.
No doubt.
Absolutely insane.
That's crazy.
It's not. I don't even know what to say about that.
We should have saved this and written a movie. This is fucking amazing.
This is nuts. I basically did write a movie.
Yeah,
but it's
true.
But it's all true.
It's true.
And it's not put together. There aren't many places besides like the Wikipedia page is just a skim. I mean, there's none of this shit. Obviously, it's a skim of off the top of this. But
no character references or anything.
Nobody wrote this whole story, including like, oh, by the way, his wives are dead, and oh, by the way, this or that. They either write about the dead wives, or they write about the drug trafficking, or they write about the racing and just forget about it all.
That's Looney Tunes.
And all the articles that just wrote about what a great racer he was, or the downfall of him, he was a great racer, then he did this. All they bring up is shooting the witness, drug charges. None of them say, by the way, fucking wife is missing, just disappeared, and then he killed another broad and disappeared.
And ruined his son's life in the prime of his career. Put him in prison. And then he gets out and he races in the 500 and
it's
some guy
insane.
who was the winner. Damn it, I just had it.
It's nuts.
Whatever.
Ella, which one?
The winner of the one that he actually raced in '89.
I don't remember.
It was Fittipaldi.
Okay.
Emerson
It wasn't
Fittipaldi.
him. I think he finished
from Brazil,
15th or something.
Yeah, figures.
But,
the guy that won in a Marlboro car.
Oh, perfect. See? Now, guys, if you like that, thank you guys for checking out old John Paul Sr.
Yeah.
If you like that, please, number one thing we need is iTunes reviews. Please get on iTunes.
So important.
Do it up. Give us 5 stars. Say, following instructions or whatever our little inside jokes are. And, just do that. It's so important. It helps drive us up the ranks, which gives us notice. People notice us, and sponsors notice us, and we've gotten some good stuff coming up in the future here. Also, too, a sneak thing, guys. We're coming out with a new show.
Yeah.
We talked about it before, but now it's all getting ironed out. And
Super pumped.
It's coming very soon, and it's going to be really fucking fun. So keep an eye out for that. It's more of this, no athletes, but it's crime, and it's us making fun of idiots. So same deal. Please join us there. But like we said, iTunes, get on there. Please, the reviews are great. Also, if you want to help us out on Patreon, you can do that. Patreon.com/crimeandsports. If you want to throw us a few bucks, there's cool little rewards on there and all that kind of stuff, and it'll get you a great shout out. Also,
Scott Powers hooked us up
right now. Scott Powers gave us an iTunes review and donated to our Patreon page this week.
Did everything we can possibly do.
Did all he can do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott Powers. We love you. You're on the team, buddy.
Yeah, man. And then we have Nathan Bland and Andrew Bailey and John Taylor. Those are new guys on Twitter this week. They were very fun. Patrick Millam, Jason Fuller, of course. That guy makes fucking memes like crazy. This is interesting to me that we have J.C. Hennington, who we won't get too detailed. But
he's great.
He shouldn't
sent us
listen.
an email.
He shouldn't listen.
He does.
And he does.
We're his guilty
pleasure,
pleasure, and we love that so much. We're the devil sitting on his shoulder. And
he's a religious man, and we love him.
He's a nice man.
Eddie Caller, and then Mary Zahn Johnson. That's the one that found.
She found the 22 correlation.
He or she.
Brilliant.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know yet, but
brilliant. This is interesting to me. Brandy Arman, Marianne Philbrick Harding, Alex Hedges, of course.
Alex Hedges, Jesus.
Harley Amber
Thanks
Garza.
For the donation also.
Jenny Hunt, Taylor Wilson, Amy Heller, Linda Bailey. Did you notice anything weird about all those names? Those are all women that listen to us.
Yeah.
And
the women like to talk to us,
which
is great.
That's
thank you, guys. Thanks for talking to us, guys. Yeah, thank you,
so
women.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, fellas. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you to everybody. If you want to get a shout out and you want to talk to us or just follow us, we post a lot of funny shit. Sarah Hunt, our social media person, she posts a lot of really funny memes and really funny pictures and stuff we talk about. So join the conversation.
Yeah.
We have a blast on there. Twitter, you can follow us at Crime and Sports. Crime and Sports, our Facebook.com/Crime and Sports. Also, you can email us at crimeandsports@gmail.com.
Right.
Drop us a line. You can get a hold of me at Jimmy P is Funny and find me on Facebook, whatever. Jimmy, you want to give them your social media?
I'm on Twitter at Wisman Sucks, WHISMAN Sucks. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Just get in. It's so much fun to hear from you guys.
We have a good time.
And you guys are fucking hysterical. You guys are very funny as well. So thanks for being a part of this. It's been
thanks
fun.
for spreading the word, because we've had a massive growth lately, and
it's crazy.
We've gotten noticed by people that shouldn't notice us and things like that. And we just want to thank you guys, because like we've said before, we're not journalists. We're comics. We don't have we don't even have a network. We're doing this on our own, and we're fighting it. And all we have is you guys, the crime and sports movement, spreading through goddamn everywhere, even Sweden, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
So,
one of our biggest cities this week
our number one city this week is in Sweden.
Yeah.
That's London. Get your shit together. It's always London. London, come on, guys. Spread
Australia, they mopped you up.
Yeah, they mopped you up. Chicago, too. Guys, you got to really clean it up. But those are our usual tops. But, man, they came in strong this week.
It was
representing
huge.
Sweden. Thank you guys so much. We love you so much.
Bowden. You can see me at the Denver Comedy Works this weekend with Eliza Schlesinger, October 13th through the 15th. In Denver, go to comedyworks.com to get tickets. It's going to be fucking great.
Guys, join us next week where we will have another tale of complete disaster. A human garbage pile that's just on fire and spreading toxic smoke. And also, too, if they ever find this guy, if they ever find John Paul Sr., trust me, we'll let you know. We will let you know, and maybe we'll do another episode on the extradition process in his new trial, because that'll be amazing.
So fun.
But thank you guys so much. God damn it, live from the...
I'm Rita Foley.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.